Hello YouTube friends, welcome to the Last Homely Garden. This is the sister channel from the Last Homely House, which is the channel I created. It's 8 years ago. It's its birthday this month, and a couple of years ago I started this channel so that I could talk more about the things that were going on in the garden, and very quickly it became about the pond and the cabin, which I'm sitting down by the cabin now. Now, I built this pond on very marshy ground with my friend Ant, who does a lot of helpful work for me here in the garden. He built the cabin, dug the pond, and we've documented all of that in lots and lots of past videos. I number these videos to make them easier for you to find if you wanted to go back and watch things in a certain order. I wish I'd done that on the Last Homely House channel, but I didn't, not from the beginning. So I have with this one. Now, when we built the pond, we had a lot of fun. Brought the digger in, dug out this area that's now been lined with the pond liner and then filled with water. And we filled it with water in a rather ingenious way by siphoning it. You know how water moves from here to here if you siphon it, and we siphoned it through 3 hose pipes from the dam that I live beside. There's a commercial fishery next to me, and it's where the water for the pond has come from. Over the months there have been lots of comments about various aspects of the pond. One of them, before I carry on, I live beside a road. It's not a busy road, but it can get quite noisy, and it's just there. So you will be hearing road noises. You know, sometimes paradise has got a road running through it, hasn't it? The pond then. One of the concerns people had about a still body of water, which is what this is really, was about how it would become stagnant and you know, just not be terribly healthy over time. And so Ant ran a pipe from the dam along to the pond, which is on a tap that I can turn on and off and allow pond water to come in here, allow dam water to come into the pond, and there's an overflow at the far end where the water drains out if it gets too full and goes into just the ordinary drain. Now, we can turn that on and off in case there's been a lot of really heavy rain, like sometimes there can be, and the thing can overflow. Or if it's been really, really warm and everything's dropped down a little bit, we can actually top it back up again. And that's had the effect of keeping the water almost, it's not moving water like it would be in a stream, but it has had the effect of moving the water so it doesn't create that stagnation. Sometimes people say to me, are there any fish in the pond? Will you have fish in the pond? No, I'm not adding anything to the pond in terms of living things. You know, plants we'll talk about in a second, but I'm not adding fish or anything to the pond unless it arrives here by itself. Now, there have been loads of toads and frogs. In the spring there was frog spawn and toad spawn everywhere. And now, are they all hatched or whatever this is? They hatch, don't they? Yeah. And they've all disappeared off wherever they go. But every now and then I come down here with my little grandchildren looking for pond life. And little Emil's very good, he's 2, at finding frogs. And sometimes we find a little tiny frog that's just as big as my thumbnail. So there's definitely that kind of pond life here. I don't want to introduce fish. I don't think there's any need to do that. But in the spring we had some ducks who made a nest down below the ditch here and hatched out 11 little ducklings, and that was amazing. I really enjoyed sitting here on this bench watching those ducklings there. And then we have done a lot of planting around the pond, lots of pond-loving plants. I have help in the garden, not just from Ant, but from 2 people, Jen and Annie, who helped me in the garden just this year that this has started, with all sorts of the practical things, but also they're very knowledgeable about the kinds of things that you need to put in a pond and how a pond will stay healthy with planting. And they bought me 2 water lilies that they just had spare, and we put those in the pond, and they're absolutely beautiful. I've been rewarded with some very pretty pink water lily flowers. We've also planted some flag irises around the pond, some marsh marigold. They really like the wet here, and I'm hoping that next year there'll be a good show of ragged robin and water avens and some of the other things that we've planted around and about here. When Ant and I decided where we should put this pond, and when we were first looking at this area here, which had never been anything before, it was just all rushes and reeds as far as the eye can see. And when we first looked at this area and marked it all out, Ant's concern was that it was very, very soft ground indeed. And so bringing a digger in, a really small mini digger, we would have to make sure it was on a support, planks and big mats that he brought with him, so that it wouldn't sink into the ground. And that brings me on to another thing that people have always asked me about, the shape of the pond. The shallow end, or the beach as I think of it, has got a lovely organic kind of shape, a nice rounded shape. But the top end of the pond, which is the deepest it is about 3 foot deep, and towards the shallow end it just goes up to nothing at all, but then it goes down to 3 foot over there. And that digging down to that sort of depth meant that we were digging into very, very soft ground indeed. And so in order to make the integrity of that end of the pond, to keep it some strength in it, Ant boarded it out with wood all the way round, and to make that into a curved shape was unnecessarily complicated. So we have a square end to the top of the pond, and over time that will just soften as the planting takes over and we have more water lilies and water plants and so on. But what I want to talk to you about today is something that I'm going to do with you now. The edges of the pond liner, even after 2 years, is still quite prominent in some places. You can see the black of the pond liner. And so I've come up with a product. It was Jen who suggested that I use this company called Habitat Aid. And what this is, it's a very particular product for this problem. It's for edging pond edges and having them be colonised with pond plants. So what I'm going to do with you today then, I've got some of these now. I'm going to put one of them along the side of the pond there and plant it up with the things they've sent me. Now, it's September and it does feel like it's maybe a tiny bit too late to be thinking about planting things, but I'm going to put them in anyway and see how we get on. These are the things that we've got to put into this special Coir matting that I'm going to show you in a minute. Yellow flag iris, purple loosestrife, soft rush. Now, when I read soft rush, we have an awful lot of rushes here, and it did seem like I was introducing yet more rushes, but these are less of a vigorous rush, I think. And then we have water mint, and I have mint in my garden, like several acres of mint, but water mint I'm hoping will be a little bit more manageable. Marsh marigold, which I think are going to look beautiful. I've got some of those already, just a lovely little run of those here and over there by the overflow. It's going to be beautiful yellow flowers next year. And lesser spearwort, which is or water plantain, either of those two. So what these plants, I've got a tray now with those plants in, and the advice was when I got them to unpack them and put them straight, just sit them straight onto the pond, and that's what I've done. And then what we're going to do now is put this Coir matting into the pond and just let it soak for a few hours, just so that it gets completely and utterly saturated. And then I'm going to fix it to the side of the pond with some pegs that I've got, which are the sort of pegs that you peg down horticultural matting. I've got quite a lot of those. And then you push these pond plants into the coir. Okay, so that I've got the piece of coir in the cabin. I'm going to take it out and just put it into the water for a few hours. So let's do that now. Here it is. That's how wide it is, and it's 2 meters long. And it's a sort of lattice work of coir, and then with coir fibres pushed into the holes here. And I'm going to just wet it now. It's very, very dry. So I've pinned the coir matting to the topsoil here. It hasn't gone into the liner. If you're watching Ant, you'd be very worried that I was piercing the liner. I'm not. And now I'm going to follow the instructions that I got from the company and plant the plants on the top that don't want to be in the water, like the flag irises, and then the plants that can go into the water at the bottom of this coir matting. So come on, let's do that. Well, that's all of those plants planted. It remains to be seen now how they establish and how they make their roots through that coir and actually start to fill out the brown of the coir and start to become green. This time next year, hopefully, they'll be well established, and that bank there, which was just bare plastic before, will be plants. It looks better already for being covered over, but it's actually very much a work in progress. Well, I hope you enjoyed coming along with me to do that little job. That's it for this video now. We'll keep an eye on that planting over the months and see how it establishes and how those plants grow up. I hope they do. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for them. I'll be back here on the Last Homely Garden channel with something else whenever there's something to talk about. I don't have a regular schedule for this channel, unlike the Last Homely House channel, which has its fortnightly videos at 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time on a Sunday. But here, it's just when I find there's something that I want to turn the camera on and share with you, like tonight. And so, put your notifications on when you subscribe, and that way you'll get notified when I do one of these videos when I have time. So it's evening now. I've finished this job. It's around about 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's September now. It's just starting to get a bit September-y. The leaves are still lovely and green, but that'll be changing soon. And then we'll be heading into autumn, which is a fantastic season. I really enjoy it. For now, though, thank you for watching. Do give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and a comment if you want to ask anything more about what I've been doing today. And I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody, and enjoy whatever it is you're doing in your garden. I'm pleased with how that coir matting looks now, covering up that black plastic of the pond liner. And if you remember, there was another length of exposed pond lining on this side. And when my gardening friends, Jen and Annie, came, we put another length down there to solve that problem. Let's see how all of these settle into the pond over the next year or so.